So I want to show you guys all the options and why I think the Corsair software is so powerful. What I've got is I've put strip lights in this. I've got a strip light in here. I've got strip lights in there. Essentially, these are strip lights. I've got strip lights in there. It's basically just the fans that aren't treated like a strip light. Everything else is a sequential string of LEDs, and sometimes it's in a straight line and other times it's wrapped around, like in the distribution or the CPU block, it's actually wrapped around the whole block. With these, and for instance the water pump as well, you've got a sequential ring of LEDs going around in this little lighting zone here. If you keep that in mind, some effects are going to look really good on some things, and on other things it's not going to look as good. Let me demonstrate and show you guys what I mean. Let's start with the table. This is going to be quite an easy place for me to show you how their lighting effects work. On the Corsair software, first of all you go to lighting setup, and then at the bottom there I can choose what is connected. So if I say there's a single monitor on channel 2, and on channel 1 there's RGB light strips connected, and I can choose how many light strips are connected. So if you go into the iCUE software, and you click on the device you want to set up. So in my case, I want to set up the LS100. I've got the lighting setup selected there, and I can now choose channel 1 or 2. I can select whatever I want there. And so for example, now channel 1, I've got the table connected, and I say there's light strips connected. There's 5 light strips connected. But now, if you then go to, so that's where you choose the hardware that's connected to the specific channel and how many of them basically. If you then go to the lighting channel itself, now this is where you can choose the lighting effect. And this is where you can individually start to control your lights. So for example, over there you can see I've selected from the 5 strips, I've only selected up to 63 lights, because I've got 63 lights in one row in my table, and any sequential effect beyond that is going to mess up, because it's going to go outside the light strip that's connected and then not come back, like the visor effect, for example. By selecting certain parts of this light, so if I select only the first, how many lights, you'll see now I've only activated these lights over here. And by doing normal window select, by just holding control, I can select some more lights over there, an individual light there, and an individual light there. So now I've gone and literally created some custom setup for whatever I like. I can go even further and actually add, let's say on the first 15 lights, I want to do one effect, color warp, and then I want to leave some lights blank, and then add another effect. So I can actually add something else, but make that run only on this section over here. And I can change that to, for instance, rain. So now I've got an effect running on this lights and another effect running on those lights, and it's all basically coming off one channel, and I can load as many effects on these things as I want. All right, enough of that. Let me show you all the different effects that Corsair has in their light strip arsenal, and then I'll go over the fan effects as well. I'm going to select my entire table, which is 63 lights. So right off the cuff, this is the rain effect. It looks pretty good. I think it looks really good in this. The problem is, if you're working or sitting by a computer, for example, it's too distracting. It's just all this flickering in the side and under your hand. So for this one, it doesn't work well. Where it does work incredibly well is on these little light cables here. They look really good with rain. It's like they were absolutely built for it. It just looks phenomenal. All right, so let's go from the top. First of all, you've got rainbow wave. So rainbow wave, just colors of the rainbow moving along. That's actually what I've got set up on the light towers at the back there. They look really good in that. Next effect, rainbow. So rainbow itself, the entire light basically cycles through the color of the rainbow. That's almost an RGB effect and not an addressable RGB effect. Color shift. So this is probably one of the sort of most suited ones for the table, because color shift just gently cycles through the different colors, and you still get quite a bit of color variation and transition, but it doesn't actually bother you because it's not a lot of flickering happening around. Color pulse also looks pretty good in the table, so it drops away, breathes up, breathes down. Color wave, again, a little bit too distracting, I think, for the table, but there you can see exactly what it does. So it's random colors just running across the wave. Let's go sequential. Sequential is basically filling up with a new color. So the new color comes and just overrides the old color. Also pretty good. It's pretty nice, I say. Strobing, that's strobing, so that's just on and off. It's definitely not going to work for this, but yeah, personally I find the pulse works better where it slowly fades away and comes back on. So I don't know who would want to use that. Even if you go faster, definitely be even more distracting. So anyway, not going to use strobing. Rain we covered already, so that's the rain function, looks pretty good. Visor, one of my favorite ones. So visor bounces back and forth on the actual rail. So this is what I was saying. If I now select the lights to go further, then that you'll see it's going to travel out the table and then come back. So because I've now given it too many addresses, if I give it a shorter address, obviously it's only going to bounce in this area over there. And then you could do some custom settings where so this is a temperature setting, so you can choose your color. Default is green, yellow and red, where it's going to respond to the temperature of the CPU, or whatever you choose. You could choose any other metrics that's available in your thing. So I've got Commander Pro, yeah, I've got a lot of motherboards readouts, I've got the graphics card readout, so there's quite a lot of them. You can choose individual cores, I can choose the memory, for example. So quite a lot of them that you can actually choose to then actually respond to it. So yeah, if you want to do that, my radiator is too big, so I'm never actually going to get out of the green zone. There's some interesting ones. Ambient lighting, audio lighting. So that's if you have music playing, it'll respond to the audio. Fireplace. Fireplace. A little bit of a fireplace effect. Okay, then what Corsair's got, they've got system-wide control. It's called Corsair Link over there. If I then go, let's go for spiral rainbow. Now, all my lights in my system is basically doing the same thing. So with a click of a button, I've taken over every effect that I've got on the whole computer, and everything's in spiral rainbow now. Let's see what visor, for example, looks like. So now your different channels. No, so that's what I found. I found that some of these effects, I don't know if my setup isn't completely right with this, but I found that some of the effects actually don't work. Here's the visor happening now, but now it's gone again. It comes back. So I don't know where it's going. So it's meant to be traveling through some of the other stuff, but I don't see it. I mean, that's still on rainbow. That's still on rain. This is still on color pulse. This is still on color wave. Okay. So I think this is how it works. I think what you must do is you'd have to turn off every single lighting channel and set it to Corsair Link, lighting link, and then they would all respond in the same way. Because now what I see here is this rain effect is actually happening on all the devices at the moment. It's on the fans, it's in the distribution plate, it's on this, it's basically everywhere now. But it's overwritten, or it's on top of the other effects that I've already set up. So I'd have to go individually to each of these and just actually deactivate whatever lighting effect is on there already. Let me show you the fan options for all the fans, different settings. They've done a really good job of making it quite interesting with all the different lighting effects that you can do on the fans. So obviously with a fan, you've got a light loop in the inside, and you've got a light loop on the outside. And then what they do is they've got lights inside, outside. So they actually marry the two effects together. So if you can communicate to each little LED, then you can obviously create quite a lot of effects. So let's start off with a rainbow wave. Very multicolor, very bright. Definitely not, it's too much for me anyway. It looks nice though, I must say. It does look nice, but it's too much. Spiral rainbow, similar, just a lot of rainbowing. The rainbow itself is a solid color, basically just transitioning between the rainbow colors. Color shift very close to rainbow. That's basically also solid color, just moving along. It's randomized. Color pulse. So these are very much the same effects that we had with the light strips down here. So that'll go on and off, on and off. Color wave. So this is where it gets pretty cool. So now they work inside, outside, inside, outside. So with the fans, obviously they can do quite a lot of nice little things like that. As you can see, it is random. No, it's not random. Look, the blue's moving down. See there, the blue goes. So if you look at the pink, it's going to go there. Now there it goes, the pink, and it's going to go down. So it actually travels down. So it's a wave that moves in direction. So it's important when you put your fans in that you put them in the same orientation, that you don't actually put one like this and the next one like that, because then your gate and infinity effect, which we'll get to now, is going to be completely, it's not going to work correctly. Sequential. So there we go. That's what I was talking about. So there's building again, building. So if your fans are orientated differently, then it's going to very much definitely look strange. Rain. Again, same effect as with the light strip, just random colors, random LEDs. So pretty nice. I mean, it's not bad, to be honest. Visor, which is pretty cool. I like the visor effect. Travels up and down. Marquee. That looks very much like a marquee tent. Temperature, again, the same as this. You can set your custom temperature conditions where it must go. Arc. So that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool effect. It's called arc. Pong. That's pretty cool. It's called Pong. Basically, it's looks like a little ball bouncing up and down on the inside. Pretty cool effect. I mean, I must say, congratulations. They did a really well done job of being innovative and creative with the way they can make all these lights move and work together. The really cool ones are coming now. So this is called Color Warp. Very much the same thing as what is happening with the table and the straight strips. Rotary stack. So this one's pretty cool. So it's stacking up. The colors basically stacking up on the one end and building up. And then infinity. So this is the one I've got it on at the moment. And very clever little move they've got there. So it basically circles around on the end and then travels up and down in the middle. Pretty clever, and I think it looks real nice. That's the one I've got it on. Then this one is interesting. It's called Gate. It's like a gate opens up there. You see the gate opens up, and then whatever's in the middle falls through to the bottom. So it's like very creative. It's incredibly creative. It's so clever, and I mean, it's just so nice. Look, opens up, the blue falls through, opens up, choop, and it falls out. It's so clever. So yeah, well done, Corsair. That's real clever. This one's called Ping. Ping is like a submarine that pings the ground, and it basically bounces up and down. It's important that you need to obviously align your fans over here to make sure they're in the right order. But you can actually move them around on the software. If you don't actually physically go and change the plugs, you can just say this fan. Let me see if I can. I've got to do it in the setup. All right, let's go through. And then you've got audio lighting, which again will work with playback. And then you've got rainbow channel, which looks like that. That's also not bad. It's incredibly beautiful fans, I must say. That's why I went for them. They were a little bit pricey, but in the end, I think after you've forgotten how much you paid for them, it's all joy, all fun and joy. That's it. That's it for demonstration of what Corsair software can do for you. I'm incredibly happy, and I've played with it quite a bit now and gotten all my setups to whatever I like. So let me show you guys just the limitations or things to keep in mind when you're setting up or thinking about how you're going to do your setup. On this, for instance, this one here, so this is a sequential ring of LEDs, and this effect is called Color Wave. So if I change this effect to something like Visor, you can see it runs across from one. So that little blink you see there is because I've told that it's an LED strip, and LED strips for the Lighting Node Pro, there's the smaller controller and the Commander Pro. It's got 10 LEDs. So every 10 LEDs it sort of skips one, or it has a little pause, and that's the little break we see in there. In this effect, it's pretty noticeable. In something else, like rain, for example, you don't notice it at all. So obviously because it's all just random color. These are little things that you're going to have to think about when you, you don't really have to think about it. You'll see it when you actually work with it. Something like color pulse, very simple. There you're not going to see anything. This, for example, works pretty well with something like the color wave or the visor effect. For example, visor is going to go back and forth, back and forth. Faster makes that effect a little bit more prominent. I think if you go slower, yeah, so you still see it. It's still pretty prominent. The one thing I do want to mention and show you guys is on a box like this. So this is very similar to what you've got on the CPU. You've got a big box and you've got LEDs shining in basically from all angles, all 3 or 4 angles of this box. It looks great, but it's got a mono color at the moment. If I do something like, if I change this, for example, to something like a sequential color or like a rainbow color, for example. If I do rainbow wave, if you look inside there, it's basically just a whole bunch of colors. But if you add all the colors of the rainbow together, you get white light. So you'll see, I mean, you can see a bit of color variation there, but actually it looks predominantly white, and you get very, very little bit of movement there, which is obviously, it's not ideal. Something like this sort of effect that moves around it is also not going to look great, I think. Okay, so there I've got it now on color wave. So by the time the one travels down on the other side, the other one's going up already. I don't know, and it's not enough light for the whole thing to actually light up properly. But this is the sort of thing you're going to realize once you start fiddling with these things and see what works and what doesn't work. What I found works best for these sort of box shapes is something like a color where you've got a mono color that either transitions to another color, something like a pulse where it actually fades away like this. So it's going to actually fade away and then come back on in a different color. So that'll look pretty good as well. Color pulse. Alright, so let me show you guys the keyboard. I think that's also pretty nice to look at. This is the K100 RGB keyboard. It's got obviously individual keys that are controllable. I mean, you could basically set static colors or whatever you want for every single key that you want. And then it's also got a whole bunch, I think it's got 44 edge lights coming around the actual keyboard. But they've got some pretty cool effects. So if we look at, so this one's called Spiral Rainbow. And you'll see basically it's a rainbow that just goes in circles like that. Rainbow wave, it's just a sequential rainbow sort of look traveling across it like that. Also pretty nice. Color shift, that's the same as what you've got on all the other effects. It's basically just a solid color changing. Color pulse, same thing again, so it fades away. Color wave, that's a pretty nice one. So I think that looks pretty cool. You've got like just a wave traveling across the keyboard. I think that's pretty sweet. Visor, same thing. I think that's pretty cool as well. So it's like a RoboCop sort of look, and you've got the visor look just traveling back and forth. It's pretty cool. What I found though is that it doesn't work so nice when you're working on the keyboard, because every now and then you tend to look where the keys are. If they're not lit at that moment, then yeah, you could end up you struggle to find them. But again, with the Corsair software, which is incredibly powerful and awesome, I could add another effect, and I could, for instance, do static color, white color, and I could pick my WASD. So now I've lit up my main keys and whatever other keys you want to light up to whatever color, and I could pick a color for these and different color for those, and I could basically build as many effects into this thing as I want, and have my other effects sort of transition across it, which is incredible. The software is incredibly good. So visor, next effect, rain. Rain's pretty cool. So what you get with this rain effect, as opposed to any of the others, is you actually get like a trickling down sort of look. So you'll see the raindrops sort of trickling down over your keyboard, which again, like with the fans, I think it's very clever, guys. It's incredibly innovative and creative the way you guys have made these light settings. There's two more that's nice. So Void Visualizer, I think, actually don't know, I think the Void has got to do with the Corsair's audio system, because they've got that Void Elite headphones of theirs. Watercolor, pretty cool. You can't see it so well on the actual keyboard, but there you can see what it does. It's like a drop that falls and it sort of spirals out. Pretty clever, and that's it for keyboard lighting. For the rest of it, it's trial and error. Happy hunting. Enjoy fiddling with all your lights. It's been fun.